Right, this is my second, or I guess maybe third draft of the, second or third formal draft of the edit since I started. And this is post. I mentioned earlier the other week that I wasn't too satisfied with where things were at the moment with the footage that I've got, and I more an issue with the narrative mainly, in that I've only the characters. They don't necessarily do anything funny. They just talk about funny stuff that's happened, and that's something that could have done with tweaking. So in the scenes where I've had where they're talking about like the weird stuff that's been going on in the house, I've actually gone out and filmed it using. Unfortunately, we didn't have Alex, the guy who was playing Mark, down again because he's lives elsewhere. But we did have me playing Paul and Adam playing Luke, who luckily enough were both available, plus Alex, the cameraman, who was kind enough to come and help out. So yeah, I guess what I'll talk through first is what the pickups were and stuff like that, and where I've put them in. But actually, no, that's silly. I'll just play through and talk you through it and pause. Okay, I've added scene one to this as well, by the way. So if you haven't seen that already, this will be the good time to have a look. Right, so we start with the POV, well, the inside oven shot with the croissant leading to a ding. Oh, let me just mute the audio, sorry. Yeah. And then this is the After Effects composition that I spoke about briefly the other day. I've done a couple more of those, but I'm not so sure I'm going to do a video on them, just because, for the pure fact that they're so similar to the like process-wise to the other ones. So I'm sure you can get an idea of what I'm been up to, and the time frame involved. Here we have Mark opening the oven, grabbing his croissant. I've added, although you can't hear it on this one, you'll be able to hear it on the non-commentary version of the draft. I've done some ADR of humming and stuff like that, because the humming that we picked up on the microphone from Alex just wasn't quite satisfactory. It didn't fit in at the right times and that kind of thing, and it was almost more of a nightmare to try and sync up the audio, match those audio humming clips with the video. So I just decided I'd redo it myself, because humming doesn't sound overly unnatural when it comes from someone else. We have him looking up. Yeah, this is the second one I've done. As you can see, I haven't had to mask out the banisters this time around, which has been nice. This is only still a rough version. I think what I'm going to do is, as I go through, take another look at it, and maybe this area around here almost black out completely, just because it's looks a bit odd, because you can see the daylight coming from behind it. Yeah. Oh, click the wrong button. These lights I need to get rid of as well, so I think what I'll be doing is trying to mask around this edge a little, and maybe make it look like it's dark in the hallway as well, around there. Well, the living room, not hallway. Here he comes up behind him, grabs his croissant. And runs off. But as you can see, I haven't done a great deal to this. Like after the main portion of editing, I sort of left myself a bit of time with that to. After I'm fairly satisfied with it. Sorry, after the main part of the edit, so I'll be seeing how this goes in general. I may do some more tweaks, but technically speaking, everything's in the right order, and there aren't a great deal of continuity issues with it. So yeah, here we go. This scene starts as always. This is where the new pickups and stuff start that I've been working through. Guys, is it just me, or has Tony been acting weird lately? And this is the stuff I've added in here. I'll let it play through and then I'll explain it. This is basically a flashback of after what's it? Tony's been acting weird lately. Weird how we see Mark being Paul. Sorry, Paul. Getting mixed up. Paul in these situations in which he's seen what's been going on and stuff like that, and it kind of it works quite well because it's quite jarring from where the shot is, generally speaking, and that's a theme that I'm working with in the piece at the moment anyway, is just to try and jar everything and make it quite oddly put together but purposefully. And yeah, so he's going to be walking past Tony's room, hearing the screaming, and then yeah, just sort of walking off after that. Yeah, and that's going to be really, really funny. Yeah, and then we go back to normal, basic sort of standard stuff that we've got here. Kind of, I don't think I've shaved off a few frames here and there off some of the shots, and but that's, to be honest, not really worth a full discussion of. I'm sure it's just editing process in general. And then this is another change that I've put in. I looked at the previous scene where Mark takes a look at the fridge. Sorry, Paul once again. Here's the locusts inside the fridge and stuff like that. Gave it some more watches through a bit more critically, and I saw very much that it just wasn't funny, so I thought I'd replace it with something. And my sort of thought process with that was the theme for this sort of scene and stuff, and what the weird things going on in the house is kind of the 10 plagues of Egypt, in that it's something like frogs and lice and locusts and that kind of thing. And obviously the locusts in the fridge was meant to mirror like the locust plague and stuff like that, and be some sort of funny little biblical gag. But unfortunately, it didn't really quite come across. To be honest, I think maybe if I'd put it together differently or something like that, or maybe if we'd had someone who was an actual actor and not me, it could have come across a lot better. But I decided I'd go for something different, and I thought frogs was a good one and stuff like that, and sort of playing on there's a frog in the house and no one's really all that bothered about it, and it's just a bit yeah, a bit silly. But I also decided, while I wasn't too sure about it to start with, I've actually gone a bit crude with this bit. I've put in a masturbation joke here, and basically the gag is, well, you'll be able to see it in the full draft. But yeah, he's masturbating basically is the gag, and he's hearing these frog noises and stuff like that. These little bits down here are ribbit sound effects, and we're going to record some funny sort of porno dialogue and that kind of thing to fit over the top and make things a bit silly, basically. But I think it works. It's crude, but at the end of the day, this is a sort of TV sitcom-y, well, a sitcom thing about students, and students are naturally quite crude creatures. I've got a little bit of artifacting on this footage of the frog, and I need to get that fixed, but that'll come down at the final polishing. And then it works quite well with the end of the scene. Like, it's just a bit, really jars everything in sort of quite a funny way, and then we go straight back to Mark, who's like, it's as if the story's just been told, and Mark's sitting there going, what the fuck are you talking about? And we cut in. I've dragged out this is something I've been doing a little bit more and more of, is dragging as opposed to someone says a line, cut to the other person saying the line, I'm trying to sort of make them flow a little bit better Luke's delivery starts midway through, well, starts towards the end of Mark's reaction. This is another one. If you remember from the previous edit, or indeed the final version, there's a bit in the dialogue where Luke's talking about finding piss in the sink, basically, piss in the toilet, blood, in fact, in the toilet, while going to the loo. And while conceptually it's quite funny, once again, what I made the mistake of doing was talking about this funny event that happened, finding a toilet bowl full of blood, and not actually showing it. So there's no way for the viewer to there's no sort of visual backup for the viewer to sort of go, oh look, this is what it is. Look. So what I decided to do was refilm, well, actually film uh, Luke pissing in the sink and reacting to the toilet bowl full of blood, which actually works really well. I think it's quite manages to be quite humorous. The way we did that, that's just double concentrate Ribena poured down the toilet to make it look red, which works quite nicely. And I've done on every bit of dialogue in this, I've done a cut to a flashback of this stuff happening, and I think it does work quite well. It's quite funny. It becomes more funny as it goes through with every cut, I think. But that's just my sense of humour as well. That's media offline. That's just another of Luke looking in the toilet bowl. But because it's quite gainy, I'm going to have to go into After Effects and fix it a little bit, basically. But yeah. Just went in the kitchen sink, and here's a little clip of Luke taking a piss in the kitchen sink. It was kind of basically what we got Adam to do was just kind of improvise, like, because he's like the sink's quite high up and he's quite a short guy. I thought it'd be quite funny if he sort of improvises, kind of climbing over the top of the sink and stuff like that, and trying to find different ways of getting to the right height to piss. And this was the one of the funnier bits, so we just kept it with that. And then I still need to get. It's got currently as a placeholder, we've got the Pingu theme tune playing over the top of it. 'Cause it's quite a funny like little gag looking at how Paul is and stuff like that, and it puts across a little bit of his character, like how he's not bothered, he's just kind of happily going about his own thing, but more often than not his own thing is a little bit disgusting. And then we've got Mark's reaction. This is a bit I need to tweak because, as I don't know if I mentioned before, but I replaced the maybe it's syphilis line that didn't work with I just sort of mashed together a kind of a cut in which they just unpause the Xbox and carry on playing again as if there isn't an issue. But that may need a little tweaking. I need to look at things as a whole when it's all properly fixed. But yeah, and then there's final scene. There hasn't been a great deal of. I don't think there's been any changes to the final scene. I'm really, of all the stuff, I'm most happy with this out of everything that I've got currently. And yeah, it seems to be looking quite positive all in all. I think kind of obviously with still going to need its colour correction and things like that, and just the proper tweaking and stuff. But it is really, I still really like Luke's reaction. Like he's kind of looking a bit dim about everything, and then gets a bit arsey. But yeah, I'm thinking about maybe cutting in some footage from the shopping channel around this bit, just to sort of show like show what Paul's watching in the shot, and it might be a funny little gag and stuff. Excuse me. And yeah, the scene's currently ending the same way. But what I'm sort of the main thing I'm waiting on at the moment that's sort of the only thing that's kind of holding back the edit is I still need ADR at the moment, and I think so additional dialogue recording and stuff. I've got a list of things that I need to sort of that I need to record, and I think they're really going to make the make things pop a little more, I guess, and will help me sort of get a little bit more direction in the edit. Because once I've got got some more raw footage, or at least audio, I guess in this case, it's going to help me structure things a lot better, and I'm going to be able to finally say, right, I've got all the elements I need. I can finally start just tweaking little bits off the scenes and stuff, and keyframing and messing with the audio properly and stuff like that. So yeah, I'll talk you through. I've just written down a list of yeah, what the ADR stuff that I'm doing is. I've got to do 2 minutes of Tony screamings. That's 1 minute 30 solid take with 30 seconds of stuff previously. So the 1 minute 30 is for this scene 3, in which they're all sitting downstairs, and I've got to do 30 seconds for use here and there, and mainly in these two pickups here. So hopefully once all that's in, we're going to start seeing more of Tony as a character. Well, not seeing more of Tony as a character, but Tony's going to be the influence there, and that's going to be very much apparent finally, which is obviously 100% needed for the piece. Otherwise it just looks confusing. I've got to do 30 seconds of fake porn dialogue to match with this scene. Like, so sort of that ridiculous kind of 80s porno dialogue kind of thing, and then we'll see how that comes across. Hopefully, it should add a bit more humour to that scene. I've got to get a sort of scary noise. I've just used the like kind of the American kind of style of the sort of psycho for this bit. As opposed to, I've just used the sort of boom as the placeholder for this, but I think it will come across a lot better with come across a lot better with some sort of more finely tuned, like tailored audio for the shot, and then that should come across quite nicely. We've got to get the sound of Luke going to the toilet in the sink, which I'm just going to do. Going to get a metal pan and a bottle of water and just pour it in, and we'll record that, and hopefully that should add a certain something to this scene. We've got to get a sound of someone gagging for, whereabouts is it? Here. This part needs like that or something. Also need for the beginning, because I'm not 100% satisfied with how the take, how it's sort of delivered, is the "Tony, you prick" line here, because I think it needs to be more angry, or maybe the old gag of cutting off from a swear word midway through, like "Tony, you fucking boom," something like that, which I think might add a little bit of humour to it. I may re-record the humming, because obviously I just recorded it on my headset, but I don't know if it's necessarily the audio quality that's an issue, or just the humming itself. So I'll see how that goes, and if I need to tweak it, I'll tweak it. But it's not necessarily a priority. But yeah, so I'll that's draft 2/3, I guess. We'll edit with extra pickups. I'll do a new one and post up a new draft plus a new draft commentary. When I've recorded the ADR, hopefully we'll have a video for the ADR as well, and